All right. Unfortunately, we got to talk about Jimmy Butler right now. And as you see in the photograph, Jimmy Butler was injured in the Golden State Warriors last game. The Warriors did win the basketball game versus the Miami Heat, but Jimmy Butler seemed to tear his ACL in that basketball game. So now, more than likely, he will miss the remainder of the season and partially some of next year, possibly. But let's get into a few things, right? Let's talk about Jimmy Butler's time since he's been with the Golden State Warriors. Sometimes it looks like it's working, sometimes it doesn't. At times he looks out of place in most instances, right? I mean, he's still productive, but not to the level that he was in Miami. Of course, we all can see that. B, should the Golden State Warriors, now with Jimmy Butler being injured, trade him? Now, I know it's a long shot. I know some people are out there saying, well, why would they do that after giving Jimmy Butler that contract that they did and things like that? I say it like this. Steph Curry is not getting any younger. And unless you are electing to use what you have, and by that I mean Jonathan Kuminga, I don't think a championship is going to be on the table for the Golden State Warriors as they are currently constructed, right? Because now you lose a player like Butler, who's supposed to be your second option. You still have Steph. You got Draymond, but he's really not a focal point on the offensive end. Yes, you still have guys like Moses Moody, Brandon Podziemski. I can go on and on. Al Horford, guys like Buddy Hield, so on and so forth, right? DeAnthony Melton. But all of those guys that I named are not a Jimmy Butler. And the reason I say that is because we know the type of player that Jimmy Butler can be. We've seen it in the years when the Miami Heat did go to the NBA Finals with him. Now, that was on the back of Jimmy Butler. More than likely, he was their best player at times. Pretty much all the time, right? Because the emergence of Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero was coming along, but Jimmy Butler was the main focus of those teams that went to the NBA Finals while he was there. Now, switch, and he's in the West, Golden State, and things like that. The contract that he signed, with the Warriors, and the Warriors coming in and giving him that kind of deal, makes me reluctant, especially with his age, to say what team will ultimately go out there and trade for a player like Butler. What teams will ultimately say, you know what, bring him on board and maybe he can be a piece going forward? Because again, like I said, with his age and the amount of injuries that he's had, because Jimmy Butler has had plenty of injuries, from knee issues to, the timeline it's definitely concerning, right? For the amount of injuries that Butler has had in his NBA career. But again, you hate to see players get injured. You hate to see players not be able to perform, especially in the NBA at the very highest level of basketball. We know what kind of player that Butler can be, but unfortunately his season has ended. So let me know what you guys think. Will the Warriors, wait this thing out, or could we see Jimmy Butler on the move?